This one, yes. Okay. All right. We're going to call this meeting to order under the microphone. Call to order. Roll call.
Chair Potter.
Here.
Member Tatum.
Here.
Member Helsley.
Here.
Member Cunningham.
Here.
Thank you, Chair. You have a quorum.
Okay. Well, I guess based upon the roll call, maybe we'll make an announcement that we no longer have Miss Amanda Moss as a member, and we appreciate her time and effort, valuable time and effort, and we will, I'm sure, miss her. So, next question is compliance and open meeting law. Are we in compliance?
Yes, we are, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Public comment, item 3. Comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. I look out into the audience and I see no public interest. So we'll move on to item number 4, for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference to the regular meeting of August 31, 2023. And before I ask for approval of minutes, there are a couple items that, while reading them, I see that there were a few questions that a previous member, Amanda Moss, had asked, and there was a question on the structural balancing, and I would ask Michael how that is in existence today, or Mr. Seth. Whoever wants to address that. I saw you moving. I thought you were going for the microphone.
Good afternoon. For the record, Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director. So I'm assuming this is in reference to the balancing of our salaries in relation to the other jurisdictions?
That was one of the questions, and the other question was just in the process of having limited structural engineer, how that was balancing versus going out versus in-house, et cetera.
That's right. Okay, so again, for the record, Michael Cunningham. So for the structural engineering piece, it's one of our positions that we still kind of continue to struggle with. We are fully staffed right now. We have one structural plans examiner and an engineer associate. With our current workload, it's kind of slowing down a little bit, as you'll see when we get into the budget talks. So currently, we're able to handle the workload with our consultants and then utilizing our 2 in-house staff. We also have them helping us out with civil structural reviews. So currently, I think we're doing well. For the salary position, it was something I was going to talk about in the budget, but since it was in the meetings, I'll go ahead and discuss it real quick. So we did look at the comparison of us to the other jurisdictions. Most of our positions, our combo plans examiners and permit technicians, were relatively close. We're actually even a little bit higher than the other jurisdictions. Our inspector position, we are lower than 2 of the other jurisdictions. And we actually have a position justification review that's going through HR right now to look at that salary and see if there's adjustment that needs to be made or if anything needs to be done to fix that. Or if it's in line with standard practices on salaries.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's what she was looking for and certainly helpful. There was one other item in the agenda that she had asked about, and I don't know that it was anything specific other than the bond. I see we got an increase in bond rating, and as a result of that, a decrease in our bond premium fees. You want to comment on that? That was in item number 6.
For the record, Michael Cunningham, that one, I remember us discussing, and I believe Susan had talked about it. I didn't think there was any follow-up on it. Let me look at it. Yeah, so I don't have anything additional to add to it. I don't know if Susan, if you...
Okay.
So Susan Helsley, for the record, yes, our bond rating did go up. So when we issue subsequent bonds, we will be paying less interest on them. But we haven't had any bonds against this particular fund in quite some time. So I think we're in good shape. Right now we're going through a bond issue where we're using their general obligation bonds. So we can either use general fund money or we're dedicating a 1% transportation tax. And those are going to be for street projects. And we're also refunding our sewer bonds. So we're getting a cheaper rate than we did 10 years ago, which is kind of, when you think about the interest rate market right now, it's like they're actually lower than 10 years. So we're saving quite a bit of money for our sewer fund.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, based upon those comments, anybody else here have any comments on the minutes? If not, I'll ask for approval.
I'd like to make a motion to have the minutes from the August 31st, 2023 session approved.
Do I need a second for those items? Very good. Then, great. I'll call for vote.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay. Item number, let's see, 5. Report by Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director and Building Official, regarding the Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2024.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. For the record, Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director. So this first item I have for you is our current budget through fiscal year 24. So if you look at the budget, I'll start off with the revenues. Currently, year-to-date through March, we've made $11,810,488. That puts us to a projection of $15,574,644. That is lower than what we originally projected for this year. So our budget was a little over $18 million, so we're about 15% below.
Sorry, do we have anything for the screen?
No, not on this one. It should have been the backup that was emailed out. So that puts us about 15% below what we were projected. When we get to the expenses, you'll see it's not a big deal. We're still projected to have our expenses below our revenues, so we're still covered there. If you move on to the expenses, we'll cover the non-discretionary, which is all our labor expenses. Through the month of March, we are at $6,616,355, which puts us at a projection of $8,821,807, which is again about 13% of our projection, which was just over $10 million. A lot of that savings has to do with vacancies. So as we've talked about in previous meetings, we still have a few vacant inspector positions. We have some other vacant positions, and we had positions that were only filled partially through the year. So we're going to see a savings there as we continue through the year. And then if you go down to our non-discretionary items, you'll see up through March, we're at $4,450,064, which puts us at a projection of $5,933,419, which again, in line with the other two, is about 15% below our projection of just over $7 million. So overall this year, it does look like we're going to end up making a little bit less. We have seen a little bit of a slowdown, nothing to be worried about, but our expenses are matching it, so we don't have any concern with overspending or not having enough revenue to cover our budget. If you look through the line items, you'll see there's nothing that stands out too much. There's a couple high percentages for some items that we're trying to reconcile. We're trying to make sure we're charging to the correct coding. So we have some items that we have money in there that wasn't previously budgeted, but at the end of the day, we're still covered under our expenses. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Okay. Does the board have any questions, or do we need to just take a short recess? Mr. Tatum? You have I know you're looking. Do you have some questions, Mr. Tatum? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, my questions are going to be, and you kind of touched on it, I'm sorry, for the record, it's Vincent Tatum. You had touched on earlier about what you guys are looking at in terms of salary and job positions. Obviously, the market is crazy right now, even worse than it was, I think, last August when we last met. How does the budget reflect, I guess, the incremental change in the fast-paced changing nature of salaries and things like that in the market today?
So for the record, Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director. So for us, because our salaries are kind of negotiated on the annual fiscal process, we don't see a huge impact at this point. We obviously are seeing lower revenues because there is a little bit of a slowdown in terms of permit volume. But our labor costs are kind of staying consistent. We have the majority of our staff is under a negotiated contract, and they're currently in negotiations now. And we always try to forecast for that. Finance always works with us to make sure we forecast for that. So currently, we're not as hit as hard, as significantly as the private industry might be.
And just a follow-up question for that, and this is probably a learning opportunity for me, is everyone under contract, or are you finding people being pulled into the private market through just job recruitment, through forces outside of your kind of control?
For the record, Michael Cunningham. So they're not, when I say under contract, it's under a union contract. They're not by contract to stay with the city. So fortunately, we haven't really lost anyone to the private side on the building side. We do have some of our executive level and management level. We're not covered under the union contract. We're appointed at-will employees, but the majority of our employees are under a union contract. But we have not had, like I said, we haven't lost anyone to the private side, knock on wood, and we're continuing to hang on to our employees.
Well, Vincent Tatum, for the record, I would then applaud you because whatever you guys are doing must be working, because in the private sector, it's pretty rampant with folks moving all over the place, and it's really hard to get continuity and things like that when you're trying to build processes and procedures around that. So kudos to you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
Chair Potter, to Michael Cunningham, what union are they a member of?
The CEA.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding the budget? Okay, in that event, then we'll move on to item number 6. Report by Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director and Building Official, regarding an update to the Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2025. You got a crystal ball?
I have a ball. Hopefully it's crystal and not very smoky. For the record, Michael Cunningham. The second part of your backup is our tentative budget that we have submitted as part of the city's overall budget. Of things to note of significance, as I mentioned in the previous item, we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown. Again, nothing to be concerned about, but we are projecting like a negative 2% on revenue, which would put our revenue for the year at $17,991,000. Our expenses going up a little bit because there is the potential of a labor increase, as we have every year with step increases and a negotiated contract. So we are increasing 3% total, 4% in our non-discretionary, which is our labor items, and 2% in our discretionary items, which put our expenses projected at $17,905,000. So we still did submit a balanced budget. We feel comfortable with it. Like we do all of our years, we obviously monitor our budget on a monthly basis and just keep an eye on the revenues and the expenses. If things start to change, we can always adjust course mid-year with our discretionary expenses if we need to. Labor obviously is a fixed cost, but we can always adjust our discretionary items if needed as the year progresses forward. Bless you.
Thank you.
And with that, I can answer any questions.
Board, Mr. Tatum.
Yes, Vincent Tatum, for the record. I have a question, just something that jumped out at me. The December 2023 and December 2022, the large losses there, is that, I'm assuming that that's something that is an outlier or has an explanation as to the significance of it?
For the record, Michael Cunningham. So yeah, looking back, that's at our fiscal 20-year budget. So yeah, the large loss in December. Typically, we have payback that is due that the employees can contribute in, and they're paid back some of their fees. So I think typically we'll see a larger labor cost during those months. I'm trying to see what other large expenditures we may have had. And I don't see anything else that's standing out to me. I can go back and look and report back next month, but I know typically those months, the 6-month window, so December and sometimes in June, we'll see a larger than normal loss.
Okay, and just as a follow-up, that's something that overall is generally anticipated and able to be forecasted into your fiscal budgets?
That's correct. For the record, Michael Cunningham, yeah. So we use a rolling average to try to project out. So when those months get in there and we have an odd month, or if there's an anomaly that pops up, we use that and it adjusts our projections accordingly.
Okay.
Susan, any question?
No questions for me, thank you.
All right, okay, based upon that, then I think we're going to move on to item number 7, report by Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director and Building Official, regarding the 2024 code adoption schedule and process.
All right, good afternoon. I'm back again. For the record, Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director. So this one, you guys had just asked for kind of an update of where we're at. Currently, all the committees are meeting. The Uniform Plumbing Code and Uniform Mechanical Code have finished their amendment process, and their amendments are with the steering committee. The steering committee is the final committee that looks at it before they forward those recommendations to SNOBO for a final approval. The other committees are all actively working. NEC, I believe, is done, which is the electrical committee. The IRC was recently finalized as far as their appeals and everything, so that book should be getting published soon. So we are still going to be waiting on the IRC and the energy code to be able to finish the full code adoption process. Our hopes is still to have by fall of this year those codes in front of our council for adoption with an effective date, end of first quarter next year. We're still kind of dependent on that IRC and the energy code because we need a full series of codes before we can finalize the process. But that is still our current goal. By our next meeting, I will for sure have a deadline for you or a date for you because we will have the IRC published by then and we'll be able to know where all the committees are.
Board, questions?
Vincent Tatum for the record. So, I mean, that's good. It sounds like there's progress. I guess my question would be is there anything that jumps out as you as any type of concern or kind of unforeseen condition that's like become evident now in the process of going through the code reviews and specifically with the timing and the delta between the different jurisdictions adopting different codes?
For the record, Michael Cunningham, nothing has stood out so far. A lot of what the committees are trying to do, they're going through our current amendments, first looking to see if there's already changes in the base code that matches our amendments so we can get rid of them, and then just looking to see if we still need the same amendments and then if we need any new ones. I haven't seen the full packages yet. Usually SNOBO, we get it at the very end once it's vetted through everything, but none of our team that's on the committee. So we have team members on every committee. Usually if there's something that really sticks out, they'll come and we'll discuss it a little bit before they vote on it at a committee. So there's been some stuff that has been proposed and has been denied by the committee. So at this point, I don't know of anything that's earth-shattering that's coming forward.
Chair Potter, I think it's always important for the industry if we could get all of the local jurisdictions on the same page and using the same code, but it doesn't always happen. So I would like to ask you that question. Are we any closer to getting all of the jurisdictions on the same code issue interpretations?
For the record, hopefully with this one, we will all be back on the same page in terms of the code years that we have adopted. Currently as SNOBO, and that's all the building officials in the valley, we are all proposing to adopt this next series of code. So if it all goes forward, obviously it has to go through the public hearing process and their councils and commissions. But if it's all approved, then we would all be on the same series of code. So at least we would all be on the 2024s. Amendment-wise, this consensus process, we try to do the best to all get on the same page. We're all going to have our own little tweaks, but hopefully not a lot. For example, us in City of Henderson, we're going to keep the mid-rise provisions in there. County won't adopt the mid-rise provisions. I don't think North Las Vegas, or actually they might be working on adopting the mid-rise too. So there'll be little things like that, but I would say 80% of the code, once we all adopt, will be on the same page.
Okay, Chair Potter, I think in our minutes last time, previous board member Amanda Moss had asked about a report on the Federal Wildlife Urban Interface Code, and I was going to ask for a report on that. Did we entertain that?
Yeah, so we currently have the Wildland Urban Interface Code adopted. We're proposing to adopt it again as part of our next series of code will be the 2024. In our jurisdiction, we don't actually have any areas that's defined as Wildland Urban Interface, so it's a code that we will adopt, but there's not an enforceable area. Currently, the way we have our amendment written, there's supposed to be a map that goes along with that book that kind of defines those areas. We say that if the fire department's community risk assessment doesn't identify an area of wildland urban interface, we don't have to have a map, and currently we don't. So we will adopt it, but it's just not a code that's really enforceable in our jurisdiction because we don't have that type of interface.
Thank you. Board, any other questions on, yes, Mr. Tatum?
I was going to say no questions for me.
Susan?
No questions for me.
Okay, then we're going to move on to item number 8, which is report by Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director and Building Official regarding projects with significant impact to Building and Safety Division resources.
All right, for the record, Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director. I just got 2 more items for you. Hopefully this one will be an exciting one. So last time we met, I did a presentation just on big projects that might have an impact to us, to our Building Enterprise Fund and to our Building and Safety team. So I went ahead and I did another presentation for you. Some of these projects we've talked about last time, but they've changed milestones. So now instead of impacting us on a plan review side, they're impacting us on an inspection side, so I kept them on here. So starting off, we'll talk first about stuff kind of outside the downtown core. So I just picked a few of them off of our list. This one here is a site plan. It's for the Decatur and Rome apartments and tiny homes. It's out in the north part of town off of Decatur and Rome. 276 units comprised of 1 and 2 bedroom units, and then a series of tiny homes. So if you look at the picture, that top cluster of houses are tiny home products that they will have for rent. Summerlin continues to grow, as everyone knows, in the west part of Valley. So we have Summerlin Village 22, parcel YZ, is a 91 single-family residential subdivision. Alton, which is AKA Summerlin Village 29, is a 94 single-family residential subdivision. We have Sky Canyon out in the north is still continuing to finish out their development on the west side. So we got Sky Canyon parcel 506, phase 2C, which is 48 residential townhomes. And on that, so those are just some of the ones I picked off the screen. But to kind of give an idea of other projects, so we have a list that we track of our lodge projects, which is anything over $100,000 in valuation. So far this year, currently we have 163 projects in review for a total building valuation of $653,230,728. And then since January of 24, projects over $500,000 in valuation, we have issued 78 of those permits for a valuation of $314,785,633. So as I mentioned earlier, we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown, but it's not significant by any means. There's still a lot of development going on. There's still a lot of projects coming in, and we're still permitting a lot of them. And then kind of one of the more unique ones that's coming to town, you've probably heard about it in the county, is the Vegas Loop. So that project is currently still in our plan review process. So we have the first phase of that tunnel that's in the city's jurisdiction is in review, and we're just waiting for them to do a resubmittal. So that one, as it comes back in, will take up quite a bit of our time.
Very good report, Michael.
Oh, I got a lot more. Sorry. That was just outside of the downtown core. We still got the downtown core and all the good stuff. All right, so Civic Center Building and Plaza, as you walked up, you probably saw that building. Last time we talked about it, it was in plan review. We've issued all the permits now. There's some ancillary permits in the plaza area, staging and artwork that they're still working on, but the majority of the permits have been issued. Again, that's a 250,000 square foot new office space without 1.5 acre outdoor special event plaza. And then I just provided a couple of the renderings of what the finished product will look like. See, the outside envelope is starting to go up, so it's moving along. Once they get past this phase of it is actually when it will start to impact us quite a bit more. A lot of the current portions going through special inspections. All right, and then we move on to the Art District, or Area 15, District 2, sorry. So last time we met, I pretty much focused on that Universal Studio building. So in that rendering, if you look at that furthest north building, that kind of looks like a barn. That's the Universal Studios TI building we talked about. Well, the rest of that whole district is now in plan review. So Building 2 is a 54,981 square foot building that's currently in plan review. Building 4B is a 56,926 square foot building. Building 4C is a 50,652 square foot building. And then building 6AB and the 747, it's kind of hard to see in the rendering, but there's a 747 plane fuselage that is connected to one of the buildings that they're converting into like a bar restaurant area. That is a total of 32,518 square foot that is currently in plan review as well. To support all that, obviously there's going to need to be a lot of parking. They have a 7-story parking garage that's going on that northwest corner. Total of 358,753 square feet. That one we just recently issued, so that's actually already in inspections. And then the Universal TI, since we met last time, they had their shell permit, now they have their TI permit, and so that is actually under construction. So this whole district is obviously going to keep us busy for a little bit. When we get down to development agreements, Vegas Rising, which is just north of this, is the residential component of this. So this area is just blowing up. It's going to be a pretty cool project once it's finally done. Then moving on to Symphony Park, so that's just right here in downtown. This is kind of the overview map of everything that's going on in Symphony Park. Again, as you're driving in, you might have noticed all the cranes in the sky, so we got a few of these currently under construction that were in plan review last time, and so we'll hit a little bit of those. First one is the high-rise Block C. That one is currently in construction, is a 22-story, 265-unit apartment building and 14,000 square feet of commercial space. And then we have Parcel D, which is a 5-story multifamily building consisting of 275 studio, 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. That one is also currently under construction. This one we talked about last time, which is the AC by Marriott Element Dual Brand Hotel by Jackson Shaw. This 440-room convention hotel will also have 20,000 square feet of meeting space and is under construction. And the most current one, this one is Parcel E. It's a 30-story for sale condominium tower and a 30,000 square foot grocery retail space. It also includes 150 rental apartments, 40,000 square feet of office space, and 20,000 square feet of ground floor retail, and a 700-stall parking garage with the festival amenities on the street level. This one, we've met with their design team a couple times now, so it's getting ready to come in for a plan review. They might have submitted this week. And we've received a couple AMMR, so this one's starting to hit us. So hopefully by next time we meet, this one might also be under construction. And then moving on into the Arts District. The first one, this is on 123 West Imperial. It's a multifamily project by the Cedar Street out of Chicago. It's 311 apartments, 2 outdoor amenity decks, 5,000 square feet of ground floor retail. This one is in plan review. It's actually pretty close to getting issued, so this one hopefully will be issued here within the next month. We have another one that is by Southern Land. This one I think we talked about last time. It's 3 buildings at the intersection of California and 3rd Street. It's 337 apartments, 10,000 square feet of ground floor commercial, and each building will have its own parking garage. Recently issued this permit, and it's actually under construction. So speaking of that, under construction, so once everything's done in plan review, things tend to hit us on the inspection side. So just a couple other projects that have groundbreakings recently. January 16th at 1501 Decatur, a 40-unit mixed-income housing by Community Development Program Center of Nevada was issued. This next one, we can place Spot the board member. Vincent's in that photo. This is January 25th. That AC by Marriott project broke ground, and so as you can see, that one's going along pretty well. Just a few more. February 27th, the Arts District Housing by Southern Land Company. That's that one at 3rd in California, so that one's currently under construction. We also had the West Las Vegas Library at Enterprise Park get kicked off. And then in March here downtown, West Side by Cherry Development had a groundbreaking to start off their project. So those are all the projects that are currently in review that we know about, so what's coming up on the horizon. Like we talked about last time, mainly I focus on development agreements when it comes to this, and so we have a few development agreements that our planning side of our department's working on. First one's Desert Pines. We talked about this last time, but here's a little exhibit of what the proposed uses are. This one, if you recall, it's the Desert Pines Golf Course currently, which is at the southeast corner of Bonanza and Mojave. It's 100 acres. There's a proposed unit count of 1,514 units. It's going to be a mixture of senior, multi-generational, affordable, some workforce housing, and then single-family attached and detached. It also has a commercial component and some community facilities and an open space area. A couple other development agreements that they're working on. Vegas Rising. This is the one that's kind of associated with the Area 15 Same developers are the ones that own this. They've demoed all the houses in there and got it prepped to go forward. They're currently working on the sewer line that'll service this development. It's 22 acres. Maximum number of units is 1,341, which may include up to 225 hotel units, and it's composed of a mix of townhomes and mixed-use high-rise buildings. Upper Las Vegas Wash, this one is as far north as you can go in our jurisdiction right now, up above Sunstone. North of Moccasin Road, it's 940 gross acres. Proposed unit count of 6,000 units, composed of residential housing ranging in density and product types. It includes a commercial component, an office campus, private military housing, charter school, and a CCSD school site, and then some trails and open space. And then the most recent one, we talked about this one last time. It was for sale, I think, when we closed last time with the BLM auction. It was purchased by one developer. It's called BLM 505 is what we're currently calling. It's 505 gross acres on the northwest part of town. Proposed unit count of 3,500 residential units. So as you can see, we still got a lot of work proposed that can be coming up in the city. We look forward to continuing the development. And with that, I can answer any questions on any of those projects or anything in general.
Board.
For the record, Vincent Tatum, I don't have any questions per se, but I definitely like this new addition to, the agenda. And it's much appreciated, I think, to give a sense of all the different development that's happening in the jurisdiction. So thank you for putting it together.
For the record, Susan Heltzley, I will second that. That is a really, really good overview of what the city is doing, and it gives us a great idea of what you guys are up to. So thanks for putting it together.
Chair Potter, after all that, the question that I did interrupt with, and we'll finish with, what is it that what are the rules and definition of a tiny house?
So there's an appendix in the IRC that defines what a tiny house is, and it's anything that is under, I believe it's 400 square feet. It's 400 or 500 square feet is what is defined as a tiny house. The IRC gives a little bit of flexibility in those cases, so you get a little bit of a reduced ceiling height. Lofts, you're allowed to have sleeping lofts. So there's a couple provisions they provide for tiny houses, but there is a defined definition of what it is.
Thank you. Okay, given that report, we're going to move on now to item number 9, report by Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director and Building Official, regarding an update on water restrictions.
All right, my last item. For the record, Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director. So this one we talked about last time, and just as a follow-up, I think there was a question on what kind of impacts and stuff the watering restrictions have had. So first, I'll just kind of talk about from the city's perspective. So we don't have a lot of industrial area, so when this first came into play, we didn't have a lot of projects that were trying to rush in and get permitted before the moratorium on evaporative cooling went in. We have had 2 projects since this has went into place that have submitted proposing evaporative cooling. We did have to have the water district get involved. The water district ended up denying those review and working with that developer to come up with a different system to cool their building. They were both grocery store TIs, so they were smaller grocery store TIs that they were working with them on. We've had a couple come in that just wanted to revamp their evaporative cooling system. Again, they worked with the water district. They weren't increasing the demand, so they were able to just replace their evaporative cooling system with more efficient systems. So that's kind of from the city. Again, we haven't seen a lot of it, but I did reach out to the water district just to kind of get their general feedback. So Katie over at the water district, she had told me on the evaporative cooling, they haven't gotten a lot of feedback on that. They talked about it for so much. There hasn't been a lot of people that have been, quote unquote, surprised by it. So most developers have been reaching out to them ahead of time to kind of work out a system and figure out what they can exactly do. The septic tank conversion, that one they get a lot more calls on. We obviously get a lot of calls on the septic tank. People are taking advantage of that program. They have one reimbursement program where they will provide a grant of 85% of the cost of the connection up to $40,000. To date, they have 8 people that have completed that program and another 15 that are going through the program. That's more of a program for people who are looking to convert. You can reach out to them. They can help you through that process. Or if their septic is beyond repair or they want to build a pool or something and they just need to get rid of their septic tank, This summer, they're launching a fully funded conversion program that'll be grant funded. For these properties, they're targeting areas that are affected by water quality or have a large number of septic tanks. So if you think about Northwest, those rural areas where there's a big pocket of septic tanks, they're kind of try to focus on those. It'll be a SNWA managed contract. They'll be reaching out to those areas to try to see if they would want to be a part of the program, and that one would be a fully funded project through them to convert those houses. And so that's what I wanted to provide on that, just as a follow-up to our last discussion, and then I can try to answer any questions if you have them.
Board. For the record, Vincent Tatum, thank you for that update. I think part of the question that I was asking was just generally understanding if there's trends, even anecdotally, about how developers are responding to the water restrictions as it relates to their choice to develop, here in Nevada or, specifically here in the city. Has there been any even anecdotal feedback as to developers turning away because of the added costs associated with going with air-cooled or other forms of, cooling?
For the record, Michael Cunningham. I haven't heard of any in the city of Las Vegas. I could check with our EUD department to see if they've heard it, because they deal with or work with a lot of the developers. Like I said, if anything, I could see maybe North Las Vegas or County probably having more evidence on that. They both have large industrial areas, and so I know when this first came up, Valerie over at North Las Vegas, she had brought that up and mentioned that might be a concern if they're trying to get a large warehouse manufacturer to come here and they can go to Phoenix and install a VapCool system versus here. Are they going to choose to go to Phoenix over Vegas? Because we don't have a large industrial area, we haven't really had any feedback or heard anything about that. That's what I can provide.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions regarding that report? If not, then we're going to pass on Michael. And we're going to go to item number 10, report by Robert Nolan, Senior Deputy Fire Chief and Fire Marshal, regarding updates on Las Vegas fire and rescue issues that can affect the administration and finances of the Building and Safety Enterprise Fund, such as updates on fire sprinkler inspections, plan review, and/or fees. And I believe that we don't have Robert today, but we have Ms. Sherry Shoup. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, sir, you did. For
Thank
the
you.
record, Assistant Chief and Fire Marshal Sherry Shoup. Robert Nolan has been promoted. I am filling his great big shoes. I'm happy to bring a report to you for today on all the progress that we made in the past on the plans that we presented to you the last meeting. And I have some evidence of that progress sitting here with me today. This is David Cross. He is our brand new Fire Plan Review Section Manager, and I'm going to let him give the report on his own unit for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. And David Cross for the record. Since March of last year, 2023, we've had substantial improvements in the staffing of our plan review section. We've filled a few vacant positions and created a few new positions as follows. We've converted a previous permit technician to a full assistant fire protection engineer, an AFPE, and we've filled that position. We've created a new appointive fire plans review section manager to lead the coordinated team effort and filled that position with me. And we backfilled my position that was vacated when I was promoted. Most of these staffing priorities were completed between October of last year to January of this year. Under performance, we've had our new fire plan staff getting up to speed quickly as we've doubled our staff for plan review. We have 2 seasoned plans examiners and now 2 new plans examiners. So they're getting up to speed with their training and contributions to our efforts. Since we've completed that hiring, we've had a substantial reduction in the amount of time that it's taken to review our plans. Fire permits they were pushing well over 8 weeks to get some of our plan reviews completed, and now we're hovering in the 2 to 3 week range, which has been a great help to industry. the goal is consistent with our 2-week turnaround time, what we're trying to accomplish. Plan review times for building and civil permits also have been reduced from 3 to 4 weeks to 2 to 3 week turnaround. Fire plan review section plans, we're looking to resume performing the residential fire sprinkler plans during the last quarter of this year, which have been being outsourced while we were short-staffed. So we've been outsourcing the review of our residential tracks. And for performance numbers year to date, Las Vegas Fire Plans Review Section has completed 7,316 reviews, and 74% of those have been coming in or at the 14-day review mark. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Chair Potter, welcome, David.
Thank you very much.
I think from our previous meeting, our previous Amanda Moss had asked a question about possibly getting the sprinkler system to be a deferred submittal like trusses, and we're told we would get a future report on that. So I will direct that to Ms. Shoup.
For the record, Sherry Shoup. So I did look into Ms. Moss's question, and the question that she was asking is basically a process that's handled by building department's procedures. So I don't have any further information, but Mr. Cunningham may.
Yeah, for the record, Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director. So when we first started going down the sprinkler route, there was a lot of this discussion on, do we defer sprinklers? Is it part of the original submittal? When we first went live, we said everything has to be part of the original submittal. Subsequent to that, there was a couple home builders that asked us if they could defer the sprinklers. We've had 2 home builders that have done that. We haven't set a formal policy yet on it, and it's discussions that we want to continue to have with the home builders to try to figure out what's the best scenario for us and the home building community. When we do defer sprinklers, obviously it creates additional processes for us. It comes in more like a revision. It's after the fact. Sometimes we get stuck where a model is built and the sprinklers were deferred, but the sprinklers aren't ready and they want to close up houses. And so there's some nuances to deferring the sprinklers, and so it's continued discussions that we'll have with the home builders. But currently on a case-by-case basis, we do allow the home builders to defer if they request it.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, for the record, Vincent Tatum, I have a quick follow-up question to what you just mentioned about the diverse middle. Is that limited just to the home builder side of things, the home building side?
For commercial, it's standard that the sprinklers are deferred. So any multifamily, anything like that, it's always deferred. It's just a standard deferral. It's just the single-family development.
I just wanted to make sure that that was not coming to the commercial
not.
side without conversation with the community about that, but that's what I wanted to ask on. And then again, I want to congratulate you and welcome you here, David, to the group. Your group is a fantastic group, and look forward to working with you here moving forward.
Thank you very much. Looking forward as well.
And then, Mr. Potter, if I could through you?
Yes.
I just wanted to just make a quick comment and just commend David and his group. As you can hear from those numbers, they were short-staffed for a long time, and their numbers were creeping up there, and they always did a good job trying to manage it. But I think getting fully staffed and getting the numbers down to what they have been a great help, and he's been a great addition to the team. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you.
Boy, David, with that kind of accolade, you're going to have to keep it up. Okay, then we're going to move on to item 11, which is discussion regarding topics for future agenda items. Comments made during this portion of the agenda by individual members shall refer solely to proposals for future agenda items, and any discussion shall be limited to whether or not such proposed items are within the purview of the committee and or whether such proposed items shall be placed on a future agenda. No discussion regarding the substance of any such proposed topic shall occur, and no action shall be taken. Okay, item number 12, citizens' participation. Oh,
Senior Deputy Clerk Brian Carroll for the record. This item 11, before you close it, is any topics the board may want to bring to a future agenda. So before you fully close the item, anything you want to discuss, to talk about at the next meeting? That's
very good. Thank you for that correction. Okay, board.
For the record, Vincent Tatum, actually, I don't have anything. I think that what we currently have has been modified appropriately, and I think we're good from my perspective right now.
Just real quick for the record, Mike. So the one item I want to make sure, so I always talk about the budgets, but you guys did want me to continue to present on the large projects and stuff, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
That's the best part.
I know, right? All right.
It's the most entertaining. Okay, so now we will go to item number 12, citizen participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the committee. No subject may be acted upon by the committee unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. And seeing none, we will close that item, and we will go to item 13, adjournment. We're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all. We got you that one.
We made it.
No, this whole thing.